Warm Jai Bhim to everyone here. Um, Let me thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I would start by narrating two episodes, conflicting episodes in the history of Kerala, and I will come to this. I will tell you why I would be narrating these two instances. These episodes are highly educational, and it will illustrate. I will illustrate its value in a while. The first one is regarding Poigail Yohanan. Poigail Yohanan was an anti-caste leader in erstwhile Travancore, and he was born as a pariah slave. At the age of 15, he converted to Christianity. The Marthoma Church promised liberation through Bible, and he believed them. As he knew how to read and write, he read and memorized the Bible. He composed songs based on the Bible. He walked with the Bible, charming his audience. As days unfolded, Yohanan realized that the Bible is simply an account of Jewish history, and it had no mention of his people, their life, their work, their joy or death. And more than the Bible, the practice of upper caste Syrian Christians troubled him even more. They never sat beside him. He found no place in their church, in their educational institutions, or in their cemetery. Soon Yohanan decides to walk out of the church, and to commemorate his descent, he burns the Bible, and many accompany him. Now this was in 1909. 18 years later, on 25th of December, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar burns Manusmriti. I think both of them were renouncing the practice of Brahmanism, and both of them burnt texts which did not communicate with them as dignified human beings. Within 1 year of Yohanan's renouncement of Brahmanical Christianity, a group of Savarna Christians submitted a representation to the Reverend Bishop of Travancore and Cochin. It was regarding a common training program that they had to attend with Dalit Christians. The grievances were as follows. Syrian Christians were compelled to dine with Pulaya Christians. Pulaya Christian students were sitting beside them. They were mingling freely with them. Now these were the kind of complaints made. They were hurt and felt insulted by the church, because the very design of the organization, of the program was such that they were mingling. They demanded separate rooms for dining, resting and mingling. The bishop, one amongst them, wiped their tears and settled their demands. Now both these episodes are happening during the same time in the same place. Now what would be the commonalities that I find in these two narratives is that both are accounts of caste. Now, and in both accounts they represent the other. And in the first account you have Poigail Yohanan talking about the other, and then in the second account you have the upper caste Christians complaining against the Dalits. So these are accounts where both are talking about the other, and this is happening during the same time and the same place. And from where we stand today, these accounts also tell us about the political and intellectual journeys of Dalits and upper caste Christians. But the most important difference in these two accounts is that in the first account we have Poigail Apachin passionately trying to search for emancipation, and this emancipation was not limited to Dalits alone, but then this emancipation had something to offer to everyone. So it was universal, while the second account simply aims at securing upper caste privilege to sit separately or to eat separately. Now, we will find several such accounts across India in history, and all these accounts talk about Dalit resistance, and it also talks about upper caste privilege and violence. Now these stories are stories which continue. They are not stories of a tourist past. We often hear people say, my forefathers exploited you, not me. Histories shape our present, as already mentioned by many speakers. They mark our material and cultural realities. We walk, eat, wear, sell our histories. When we begin, so the entire question of when we start writing about caste or writing about history, to begin with, let us acknowledge that this is something very intimate and present in our own lives. So this is something that Arundhati Roy does not really do. So the castelessness that Kufi spoke about is here. So when an aristocratic Syrian Christian like Arundhati Roy decides to talk about caste, in empty statements like my father was a Hindu, a Brahmo, I had never met him until I was an adult. This will not really work. Dalit Bahujan scholars have consistently interrogated the speaker. They have forcefully questioned, as Anoop mentioned in the beginning, they have forcefully questioned the politics of why are you speaking, the practice of who are you and what do you do, and the pedagogy of how are you speaking. Why is it that you have to bring Gandhi while talking about Ambedkar? So what kind of guilt are you trying to, suffice in you by doing this? Now these questions are extremely forceful and they aim at transforming the act of speaking, reading, writing. In other words, it aims at transforming the process of knowledge production itself. They demand the necessary labor of self-reflection from the speaker, and they expose the distance between the speaker and the subject. They demand the speaker to understand her identity as relational, contextual, oppressive, and subjective. They highlight even the value of listening, that you have to listen before you say something. Very clearly, the question of writing caste thus moves beyond Dalit or non-Dalit. It becomes a matter of how you politically own up your privilege and how you then at a later stage may think of disowning it. Now, the process of writing caste for Syrian Christians should start from a detailed recovery of their own histories, where they ask about, beyond simply mentioning your caste location, what does being a Syrian Christian mean? It is important to nail down and expose their own identity politics. What are the contemporary manifestations of their casteism? How do they own their dehumanizing privileges? How does one link every day of Syrian Christianhood with communities above and below you? Now these are questions which every caste group would ask, and especially the Savarnas should be asking. And I am sure that many more questions could be added. Now if this does not happen, what would, like the lengthy introducer, we would be simply repeating our caste ordained roles. In the introduction, a Christian Baniya talks about a Hindu Baniya under the pretext of introducing Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. And now this reminds me of, in the early decades of 20th century, Tirukochi had a very interesting ritual where grains and oil could be brought to an upper caste household by the lower caste only when it travels through the Syrian Christian household. The traditional role of purification continues in the case of this introduction. An upper caste audience can consume a self-sufficient radical text only when a Syrian Christian performs the caste ordained purification ritual. Since they have the knowledge of world trade, they would even market the text, and this process is extremely dangerous and this should be challenged. And finally, I would like to say that more than evaluation, it should be engagement with the democratic struggles of Dalits, with their literature, and this engagement should compulsorily implicate the speaker in the text. It cannot be, academic tourism. Borrowing from bell hooks, it should be a process of self-actualization where you start talking from within your community itself. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Navin. That was really enlightening. Thanks for sharing. Now I'd like to hand over the